Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to discuss about the topic is vectors. Okay, so normally if you go to shop and ask the shopkeeper, I want a rice, I want dal, I want like etc etc. If you ask, so what the shopkeeper will tell? So immediately he will ask the questions again to you. So what questions he will ask? How many kgs you want? The same time, for how much money? For how much money you want? Like that immediately will ask. Yes or no? Yes. Correct. Then, so it tells answer for how much or how many. How much or how many, that is called quantity. That is called quantity. Okay. And physical quantity. What is physical quantity? The quantity which can be measurable. What is that? The quantity which can be measurable, that is called physical quantity. So what are the physical quantity we can able to measure? So weight of the water bottle, weight of the bag, and weight of the geometry box, and weight of the chalk piece, and weight of the tester. Right, so this we can able to measure, then we can say those are physical quantities. Some more examples also we can tell, but as of now we are looking, those are around us every time we are working with them, they are touchful being around us. So that's the reason, so I'm taking those examples. Okay, yes, then fine. Next, physical quantities still further divided into two types. What are those? One is scalar physical quantity, another one is vector physical quantity. So what is scalar physical quantity? The quantity which have only magnitude. The quantity which have only magnitude, that is called scalar physical quantity. Vector physical quantity. What is a vector physical quantity? The quantity which have both magnitude and direction. The quantity which have both magnitude and direction, that is called vector physical quantity. So example for scalar physical quantity. Example, distance. Example for scalar physical quantity. Distance we can take example. Distance we can take. Okay. Because so if I want to go for, so this is my home and this is college. So college. A is home, B is college. So if I want to travel from home to college, so it has certain distance, like 20 kilometers, 40 kilometers, 50 kilometers, like that we can take example. Okay, and so mass you take, so chalk piece weight, so how much, so like 12 grams, 10 grams, like that we can consider. Duster also you can take, duster also you can take, duster also, so how much it will be, like so 50 grams, like that, not 50 grams, 20 grams or 30 grams, more than that, so you can consider. Okay, so or 50, 60 also you can take, no problem if it is heavy duster, like that. So this is 20 kg, 30 kg. These are the examples for scalar physical quantity. Example for a scalar physical quantity. Scalar physical quantity. So what about vector physical quantities? Vector physical quantity you can consider, like simply we can consider as a vector. Okay, vector. Okay. So what are the examples for vector? Displacement we can take. Displacement. So from, again I am taking same example, point A to point B. So I want to travel point A to point B. So in the magazines or somewhere else you can see, find the way for the person to reach. Okay, you can't able to identify the way to move to home, so identify the way, like that they will say. So if I want to move from A to B, I can go in this way, I can go in this way, but the shortest path from initial point to final point, that is from here to here, that is shortest path. So that is nothing but displacement. Okay, the shortest path from initial point to final point is called displacement, or okay, one point another point, that also we can take. Okay, so 5 floors building you can take, 5 floors building. So if you take staircase, so it will be taking so much. If you take lift, directly you can come from 5th floor to 1st floor. Okay, so that is the displacement, that is called displacement. So these are the example for vector physical quantity, and also considered acceleration also vector physical quantity. Okay, it has particular direction. The physical quantity which have both magnitude and direction, then it will be considered, vector physical quantity. Okay, so this is about the scalar and vector. Now we'll talk about types of vectors. What are the types of vectors? So there are a few types are there. So we'll discuss one is like vector. Second one is unlike vector. So what is like vector? Like vector is nothing but, so the direction of the two vectors will be in the same direction irrespective of magnitude. Okay, irrespective of magnitude means the size. So irrespective of that size, so it will be moving. Both the vectors are showing in a particular direction. Then those vectors will be considered like vectors. And next one, unlike vectors. Unlike vectors are nothing but those are mutually opposite direction irrespective of magnitude. Okay, so doesn't matter whether it is equal or unequal, but so our direction will be opposite, that is unlike vectors. Next one, third one is co-initial vectors. So what are the co-initial vectors? The initial point of the vector will be same. The initial points of all the vectors will be at one point. So A bar you take, B bar you consider, C bar you consider, A bar, B bar and C bar, all the vectors initial point will be at one point, then that will be considered co-initial vectors. And next one, fourth one, co-terminal vectors. So what are the co-terminal of vectors? Co-terminal in the sense, so the terminal point of the vectors will be same at one point. So you can take, so these are the terminal points of the vectors. Okay, so will be at one point. So these are the terminal point, initial point and terminal points. So you can take A bar again, B bar and C bar. All these three terminal points will be at one point. Then that will be considered co-terminal vectors. And next one, fifth one you see collinear vectors. Collinear vectors means collinear vectors. Or you can take collinear vectors. Simply we can take collinear vectors. So what is collinear vectors? So we can consider the vectors will be in this same line or parallel to the x-axis. That is called collinear vectors. Next one, sixth one you can take coplanar vectors. All the vectors will be in the same plane. You can take x-axis and y-axis plane. You can take this y-axis, this x-axis, and this will be the z-axis. All the x-axis. So you can take this x-axis plane. So all the vectors will be in the one plane. So this is the y-axis plane and this will be the z-axis plane you can take. So all the vectors will be in the same plane, then it will be considered, okay, so coplanar vectors, coplanar vectors, coplanar vectors. And the seventh one you see, seventh one. So what is the seventh one? You can consider negative vectors. Negative vectors. So what is negative vectors? Negative vector is nothing but so equal magnitude but opposite direction. Negative vectors. Negative vectors. So equal in magnitude but is opposite direction. Those are called negative vectors. And equal vectors. Equal vectors are in the direction means so the vector 8 point you can consider 8 point. So the vector whose magnitude is equal at the same time direction are both are equal. Direction and magnitude will be equal, then that will be considered equal vector. Equal vector. Next one, ninth one you can see. Ninth one, proper vector. Proper vector. The vector whose magnitude is not equal to 0. Not equal to 0, that is called proper vector. More than 0 you can consider. And next one, 10th one, null vector. Null vector you can consider the vector whose magnitude is 0, then that will be considered as a null vector. Null vector. And 11th one you can consider position vector. Position vector in the sense, as we discussed previously, the initial point of the vector will start from the origin of the coordinate axis and the terminal point will be in the coordinate axis. Okay, like that we can take, that's the position of vector. Position vector. Next one, 12th one is unit vector. Unit vector in the sense, the vector whose magnitude is 1. The vector whose magnitude is 1, that is called unit vector. Okay, unit vector can be represented A cap equal to A bar by mod A bar. Mod A bar. So that is A cap equal to A bar by mod A bar. That is called unit vector. So this is about the vector and scalar vector. We can consider. So till now we discussed about quantity, physical quantity, physical quantity. So physical quantity still be divided into two types. So one is scalar and vector. So scalar already you know, vector, and vector types like vector, unlike vector, co-initial vector, co-terminal vector, collinear vector, and coplanar vector, negative vector, equal vector, proper vector, null vector, position vector, and unit vector. So these are the types of vectors. So thank you so much. Like, share and subscribe for more videos. Thank you.